Hey guys, this is RuRoniK95 here, and today I just want to think of another video that I haven't thought of doing something because of the upcoming event coming on in 2 weeks. Is that there's going to be like a free comic book day. This is going to happen at the library in about 2 more weeks though, because we're getting closer to have a day as well. Because if you don't know what Free Comic Book Day is that, well, I'll tell you more about Free Comic Book Day, because I've heard about the event going on as well. Yeah. This is gonna occur on every Saturday on May 6th every year, especially in May, for like free comic book day. Especially where you can get any comic for free, which is happening at the event in support of Free Comic Book Day as well. Because I have been introduced to the Free Comic Book Day at the library since 2017. And then, yeah, because I've been introduced to there. Because if you don't know about Free Comic Book Day, then what is Free Comic Book Day, you may ask? Well, Free Comic Book Day is a annual promotional effort by the North American comic book industry. Is that how it attracts the new readers, especially to independent comic book stores, of how it takes place on every first of Saturday on May, especially when they're giving out these free comic books on there every month on every year, especially the annual day, especially at Free Comic Book Day. It could be at your local independent comic book store, probably some libraries too, because the library is going to be also having a free comic book day, especially where they put out those tables and they put out like these like comic books though. Is very overwhelming though, because there is a way of how, which is always the thing for this as well, because this is something I wanted to do aside from manga in general, but I'm mostly talking about are these comics as well. Yeah, because especially on every other comics out there under superheroes, especially from the works such as DC and Marvel comics as well. Probably some indie comic publishers also as well. When I mean indie comic what are indie comics, you may ask? Well, for the thing about indie comics is that indie comics is basically the creators are never bound appealing to the larger corporations, especially they're independent, especially for the company on how they control over some material, and some they're not subject for the rules and standards for these higher ups as well, especially for what indie comic artists do as well. And that's the thing though, particularly Yeah, that is pretty much of how I could come by for that. Yeah. Excuse me. It wasn't that easy, particularly of how with the library and indie comics shops as well as many other local comic book stores are also having a free comic book day out there also as well. I mean, if you ever been going to a comic shop, like, or any of your local comic book store as well, like, especially if they're having like a free comic book day as well, because this is how the events are happening as well, particularly of how, because I'm already about to be going to the free comic book day at the library in about 2 weeks though, because I'm excited for the free comic book day as well, because I have been going there every year on the event, especially the annuals as well. Ever since the free comic book day has been canceled back in 2020, back in May 2020, which was how many years ago? 2020, 2021, 2022, which was 3 years ago, during the COVID-19 pandemic happening back in May 2020, because it was such a shame that the Free Comic Book Day 2020 was canceled because of the COVID-19 pandemic happening as well, or something like that as well. Well, good thing Free Comic Book Day came back in August 2021, because everything seems to be happening, particularly because that's pretty much of how I wanted to come by for, like, I wanted to get into the thing for how I got into the Free Comic Book Day thing of this as well. And for the most part, as well as that, well, there's some Free Comic Book Day versions of certain titles of the manga, especially the promotions and stuff up as well, because I had to get them on there, because it's free though. As long as it's Free Comic Book Day, then maybe appropriate for Free Comic Book Day is fine though, particularly of how I wanted to come by, because there having been annuals of comic books as well, and it leads you to the whole landmark annuals of how I wanted to come by on. I have been intending for like Free Comic Book Day ones as well, because yeah, I have wanted to do this as well, particularly of how I wanted to do this for the fact of how, like is there like certain comic books or like certain bigger comic corporations on there, or like certain indie comics in general though? Yeah, because I just want to know, particularly. So, it's not because of the comic book is the problem. You just got like I would like to say as, you just got the comic book that you could find something that you could get at, especially for the Free Comic Book Day as well, because I have been getting to the whole thing of how I got into the Free Comic Book Day as well, because I just literally know for the fact of, well, and there still must say of how I got into the whole annual events as well, because yeah, I just wanted to basically of how it can be commonly known as well. And I think still I got into the whole thing for how I just wanted having an event for Remember. Yeah, because that's the thing as well, because yeah, particularly of what I learned for this as well. And because I've been literally getting into the free comic book day since 2017 as well. That's why I have been literally of how this has gotten to me though is that they're having like a free comic book day going on at the library as well, because especially for those who like ever really wanted to read comics though as well, because especially if you ever been going to like free comic book day, I'm guessing it's basically happening at your local library or at a local comic book store as well. Yeah, or especially if there's like these mom and pop comic book stores out there as well. Especially, I'm wondering if if there's any like local mom and pop shops like these, like those mom and pop comic book stores. If they're out there, you could find them. Like, especially if they're having like free comic book day. Well, there's most of them out there, especially because once free comic book day has got to me though, it changed everything. Like, especially ever since the free comic book day was reopened since 2021, it just changed everything. Ever since the free comic book day 2020 was canceled due to COVID-19 pandemic problems back in 2020 in May as well, which I think I remember it all as well, because and I thought to myself pretty soon, it was no fun that there's any regrets of how you're missing out on going to free comic book day, especially whether it's at your local library or at your local comic book store as well, because it all has got to me though. I know my first free comic book day at the library since 2017, it all has got to me, which I remembered, which it all became true, and it was my first free comic book day to remember. Of course, which this all has gotten for me though, accordingly, because I just wanted to say is that I have been coming around as well of how I wanted to literally, and yet probably of how I got into the whole comic book day at the library, especially when you're going to the library during a free comic book day as well, because yeah, this has gotten to me for that as well, because afterwards is that I wanted to know for the fact of this as well, especially if you ever been a comic book fan and especially if you ever love comics in general, yeah, free comic book day is the perfect annual event happening at your library, anywhere, libraries, comic book stores, any other place where they're having a free comic book day as well. One way or the other is how this got to me for that as well. Especially if you ever been to free comic book day or not, you're missing out, because there is a good annual event happening as well, because I'm doing this big announcement of how I'm going into the whole free comic book day happening as well, because that's of how I wanted to come by for this, which is pretty much for every comic book fans out there as well. Like, there's like, is there like free comic book day versions of the certain indie comics, or like certain comics from Marvel or DC out there? I just want to know, particularly. And according to this as well, because how I got into the whole thing about free comic book day, because I just wanted to do like some big announcements of how I got into the whole comic book day as well, because this is how it's gotten to the good thinking of what I remembered for this. And yet, most of them can be very cool for that as well, because especially how I want to learn to come by on this, because even though there's other comic book stores out there in my area, like there's everywhere. There's also other comic book shops at the mall also. I'm not sure if they ever got like a free comic book day as well. I don't know. We'll see, because this how has gotten to for that as well, because this is what I think of how when it has got to my clear thinking as well. And this all gotten to the clear of where I felt that I wanted to come by for this. Somehow, my first day on the free comic book day, of how my thoughts on this is your typical announcement video I'm making when I have my thoughts on free comic book day, is that somehow this all has got to me as well, because I have ever wanted, because I haven't thought of doing a video about how I'm doing the free comic book day as well, because I loved going to free comic book day, because it was my first introduction to these annual events, and I love going to every, like, once in a while, especially on every May back in Saturdays or something, like, especially whether you can go to a library or probably, I would guess you can call that as well, because this how it has gotten to this, because it's so true when I think of it as well, particularly because I have been fascinated about going to free comic book day as well, are a lot of things is what I could remember for that. Yeah, because I just wanted to remember it all as well, because the free comic book day is something new for me, that I'm introduced to that particularly. And yeah, because especially if you ever been going there as well, either if you haven't been to free comic book day or not, then you won't be able to miss out, because it's happening every Saturday in May of this year, which is in 2 weeks as well, because this is how it has got to my thinking for this as well, because yeah, I just wanted to know all and why particularly. Let me see, because free comic book day is happening on Saturday, May 6th, which is in, I believe it was only 2 more weeks, though, because we're still on the 16th of April, though. Because, oh, sorry about that. Hold on, because I had to check the calendar, because free comic book day is happening in the 6th of May on a Saturday as well, because I'm glad Free Comic Book Day is happening on the 6th of May, which is on a Saturday, because this is what I like to call it as well, because you just want to know for this as well. So you just got the whole point for this as well, because I'm already about to be going to the library, because there's a Free Comic Book Day happening in 2 more weeks as well, which is on the Saturday on the 6th of May as well, because, well, because I have thought of something new as well, something that I have never done on YouTube, especially when I'm going to, like, Free Comic Book Day as well, because, yeah, I haven't thought of it until now, because I just wanted to go to the Free Comic Book Day as well, because that's pretty much of what I can know for that. So, here for my thoughts about the Free Comic Book Day. Well, I have been to the Free Comic Book Day at the library, like, pretty much once, twice, back in 2018 as well. But the Free Comic Book Day, I remember came back on August 2021, because the library's been reopening ever since they were closed due to COVID-19 pandemic. Happened back in March 18th, 2020, because, you know, we had to stay at home and quarantine as well, because the event was canceled back in May 2020. So, but when August 2021 came, a year later in August 2021, the Free Comic Book Day is back. And ever since the library was reopened back in July 2021. And I think I went to the Free Comic Book Day back in last year in May as well, because it was all new for me though as well, because this is what I like about Free Comic Book Day, because this is happening every year, especially for the annual event. That's why. So that's going to be it for my video, where I was discussing about the announcement for Free Comic Book Day 2023 for today, you guys. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's what I'm going to say for this one. Well, because I have thinking about doing a video like this, that I have never done one until now, because I have thought of going to the Free Comic Book Day, because it's happening as well. Because Free Comic Book Days can be at your library or your local comic book stores as well, because you're wondering of how I want to come by for this as well, just in case you're wondering. Hope subscribe for more content, especially if you're watching my channel. Click on the subscribe button. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, especially if you're new to my channel, because I've been literally getting into the Blu-rays and DVDs as well. And also, especially if you're new to my channel, by clicking on the subscribe button, smack the like button if you enjoyed the video. Be sure to smack the notifications bell button. Be sure to get notified also as well. Let me know your in the comment section below if you like as well. And that's all I have what I got for today, because this is my brand new announcement video where I'm talking about the Free Comic Book Day happening this year as well. This is Rurouni K95 saying thank you for watching my video, and I'm glad you liked this announcement video, and I hope you enjoy it. Hope to see you soon for the next video. Hope you have a great day. This is Rurouni K95 signing off. Thank you for watching my video, and I'll see you soon for more videos. Take care.